Well, hello everybody and happy Thirsty Thursday. We have a delicious set of cocktails coming your way for happy hour. So my name is Mandy Enright. I'm a registered dietitian, I'm a fitness and yoga instructor, and I'm also a very proud fruit and vegetable ambassador in action for Produce for Better Health. So we are here today to serve up a combination of some cocktails and some mocktails for you to enjoy this holiday season, and they all feature one common ingredient known as fruit. So we have a mixture of ways that we're incorporating fruit in a combination of fresh, frozen, and juice form. So today we are going to be whipping out a slow cooker sangria. We've got a Christmas cranberry sour, and then finishing it off with a non-alcoholic holiday rosé. So let's get started. Now, before we get into the actual cocktails, there is one ingredient that's going to be worked out throughout our session today, and that is going to be a simple syrup that is infused with a very seasonal ingredient. So does anybody here want to take a guess what that ingredient might be that we're going to be adding into our simple syrup today? So I'll give you guys a minute while I go grab our secret ingredient. So to make simple syrup, you take 1 cup of sugar. I use good old-fashioned white sugar, along with 1 cup of water. Dissolve the sugar into the water as you boil it, and then I added in our secret ingredient, which is actually apple. So we have some apple simple syrup coming your way. I chopped up the apple and I even threw the core in along with it. I'm going to strain this into this guy here, and hopefully not too much is going to get lost from our apples. The apples themselves get super duper sweet. You can totally use them if you wanted to for, garnishes and whatnot. Otherwise, it's all good. Okay. So we're going to set this guy aside and keep you handy because you're going to be part of our items. So starting off, we're going to get our slow cooker sangria going. I'm going to get my slow cooker here and rocking and rolling. So with this guy, I know we think of sangria and we think of, right, summertime and sitting outside and having that nice, cooling, refreshing glass of sangria. And we know sangria usually has fruit involved in it, but we are actually going to do a warm version for our holidays. Now, this is going to be a little bit different from a mulled wine. So mulled wine typically has mulling spices in it. So it's going to have peels, it's going to have allspice and cloves and cinnamon, and maybe throw a little anise in there. With our sangria, we're really just using fruit today. So for our sangria, we're going to actually start off with wine, and we are going to use a Zinfandel. Now, people hear Zinfandel and they think kind of like old lady white Zinfandel, but regular Zinfandel is delicious, and I love pairing Zinfandel with very sweet fruits. It works really well with chocolate as well, and it's going to work delicious in our sangria. So we're going to get this guy in to start. All right, healthy pour, right? And then we're going to add in an apple brandy. So we got a lot of different fruits coming into the mix here. I'm going to do 1/2 cup of our apple brandy. Already has a delicious apple smell to it. And then for our fruits for our holiday sangria, we're going to use orange. So I have 1/2 an orange. It's already sliced up. I'm going to get that guy going right on in there. And then what is the holidays without cranberries, right? So we're going to throw these cranberries in. What's really nice with the slow cooker is that it's going to create a really, really nice soft texture to them. So if cranberries raw can be a little rough, but if you heat them up, and in this form, we're getting them nice and slow cook, works great. Now, a couple people have asked me, can I do this recipe in the Instant Pot? And I'm going to be honest, I tried it in Instant Pot and my cranberries all just kind of exploded. So I have to work on the timing better of that. So I found that slow cooker right now works best for this. All right, we're going to add in our simple syrup. So we're adding in a 1/2 cup of our simple syrup. And then we are going to add in some aromatics. We're going to use cinnamon sticks. I'm going to add in 3 cinnamon sticks into our mix. And then the only kind of spice seasoning we're going to use in this guy is some black peppercorns, again, just to give that little spiciness to our sangria. And the way that I like to do aromatics, so we're not just going to throw the peppercorns in because nobody wants to get a peppercorn in their beverage. So what I like to do is I take a tea bag and I'm going to throw my peppercorns, on into my tea bag. So I like to do this as well anytime I use like aromatics, like herbs and spices in, let's say I'm going to make a broth and I don't need a ton, I can do that. You can also use like a cheesecloth as well. And then I'm just going to make a little knot, tie this guy off, and sachet away. So for our slow cooker, we are going to let this guy go on high for an hour. Oops. After an hour, you can put it down to, if you have a keep warm setting on your slow cooker, you can let that go into your keep warm setting and serve it up. So the nice thing about this is if you're having a lot of people over, which, okay, maybe this year is going to look a little different, but if you are going to have, let's say, a couple people over, rather than having to keep make individual cocktails, this is great because everyone can just go up to the slow cooker and get themselves their own serving. So we're going to get this guy over here. Oh, and through the magic of television, oops, even the slow cooker itself had a little transformation. We have our finished product ready to go. So we have a nice belly warmer here of our sangria. And usually I have my warm beverages in my Hawaiian mug because there's something about having a warm beverage and thinking about being somewhere really warm that makes me happy. But you know what? In honor of being here today with Fruit is for Better Health, we're going to rock out our Have a Plant Nation glass. So let me grab a ladle here and show you guys kind of what this looks like. Actually, let me grab a mason jar. Actually, magic hands. I have magic hands in the kitchen. Magic hands, can you grab me? There's a mason jar hanging out on the sink over there. Thank you, magic hands. You'll see magic hand several times today. And again, you can see that our cranberries got nice and soft. We have our berries. So I'm not going to fill this guy up too much, but again, you have this beautiful sangria here. And I'll fill up my mug and we'll have a little cheers at the end. And then again, for these guys, so I am a sucker for garnishes. I love some garnishes. Oh, I forgot one very important ingredient in our sangria. There's cranberry juice as well. So we are going to add in a half a cup of cranberry juice as well into our sangria. Totally forgot that.
We have Magic Hands fans.
Magic Hands fans. Woo! All right, so here we have our sangria. Again, reminder, so we used a bottle of Zinfandel, we used half a cup of apple brandy, we used half a cup of cranberry juice, we used half a cup of our apple simple syrup, and then we used half of an orange sliced up, we used half a cup of cranberries, some cinnamon sticks, and some black peppercorns to give it that little spiciness. And we're gonna set you aside. Okay, so that is our sangria. Next up, we are going to do our cranberry Christmas sour. And I actually have to give the Magic Hands a clap because the Magic Hands actually helped perfect it. I just had the ideas of what I wanted to be in it. Thank you, Magic Hands. I had an idea of what I wanted the Magic Hands to make, and we kind of put it all together. So for our bourbon, we are going to, I'm going to grab my glass as well. So we're going to start off with 2 ounces of bourbon. So bourbon comes from a plant. Does anybody here know what plant bourbon comes from? And I might need magic hands to read me out some answers. A little delay. Okay. So while you guys are trying to determine what might be the plant that bourbon comes from, bourbon, in order to be called bourbon, it has to be made here in the United States. Most people think it just has to be made in Kentucky. That is not a true statement. While 95% of our bourbon does come from Kentucky, it just has to be made here in the United States in order for us to call it bourbon. Any guesses on what is the plant that bourbon comes from? Not yet.
And nobody guessed apple for your simple syrup.
What was the guesses for simple syrup?
Cranberry guesses.
Ah, you guys are suckers for the cranberry. Okay, so bourbon comes from corn. It is 51% corn. In order to be considered bourbon, we have corn guesses. Awesome. Well, you all get a prize. So in order to be considered bourbon, it has to be made 51% of it has to be corn. The rest of it could be any combination of grains, but corn does have to be the predominant grain showing up in order to call it bourbon. So we are going to start off with 2 ounces of bourbon. Pick your favorite. If you guys want to share your favorite bourbon brand in the comments, please feel free to do so. All right, then we got 1.5 ounces of our cranberry, and this time I will not forget the cranberry juice. So 1.5 ounces of our cranberry juice. What is the holidays without cranberries, right? All right. We're going to add in 1 ounce of our simple syrup. Remember, we have an apple simple syrup showing up today. And depending on how long you let this guy sit, it can develop a nice, deep pinkish color. And for our simple syrup, I used a jazz apple. So jazz apples have a nice tanginess to them and a little tartness, which is great because we don't want to do a super sweet apple in a simple syrup because that's a little too much sweet on sweet action. So that tartness is going to help to mellow it out just a little bit. So we got 1 ounce of our simple syrup showing up. 1 ounce of some lemon juice. Magic hands, I think I need lemon juice. And an egg white too. 1 ounce of lemon juice. So typically what we do in my house, we buy a ton of citrus and sometimes we don't get to finish all the citrus. So we like to juice a lot of our citrus so we have extras to use for cooking and cocktails. Okay, and we're going to add egg whites into our sour. So if you've never added egg whites into a cocktail, it's going to give it a really nice creaminess, and you're going to see those egg whites kind of popping up to the top when we do this. So this guy calls for about 2 tablespoons of a liquid egg white. And then to finish it off, we're going to add in just 2 or 3 dashes of some bitters to finish it off. So I got the bitters going. And give it a good shake. 1, 2, 3. How'd I do? Okay. I was getting mocked earlier on my bitter skills. So then we're going to grab some ice. There's way more ice showing up here. I'm going to add some ice into, oops, a little too much. Pop this guy on. And shake it high. While I shake, I want to hear from you guys. What is your favorite fruit you love to put in cocktails, whether it's fresh or juice form or frozen? Share in the comments. All right. So, pop this guy off.
People want to know where Shiva the Diva is.
Shiva the Diva will make an appearance, I promise. If you don't know who Shiva the Diva is, trust me, you will by the end of this segment. All right, so to finish it off, we're going to strain out our beverage. All right. And again, you can see that foaminess of our egg white showing up at the top here. Now, I am a sucker for a garnish. I love me a garnish. So for this guy, what we're actually going to do is I'm going to take a cherry. I'm going to remove its stem. And then I'm just going to take a sprig of rosemary. Let's pick a good camera-worthy sprig. You look camera-worthy. And then I'm just going to take the stem. I'm just going to pop it where the stem of the cherry used to be. So now I have this fun little rosemary cherry-looking thing. You can lay it on top. You can pop it on in. And there we all go. So here's our beverage. And you can serve this over ice or you can serve it on the rocks. Oops, we're sinking.
We have favorite garnishes.
Favorite garnishes. What are our favorite garnishes? Oops.
We have oranges, grapefruit, cucumbers, lemons, but not all together.
Okay.
And palm juice.
Palm juice.
Abby likes palm juice.
Palm juice. We got a palm juice fan in the house. Awesome. All right. And then the last cocktail we are going to do is actually a mocktail. So whether or not you choose to abstain from alcohol, you're doing a dry December, January, or I have heard a ton of pregnancy announcements over these last few weeks. So whatever your reason is that you choose to go the mocktail route, we support it all because as long as it includes fruit in it, you can mock it up all you want. So we are going to do a holiday rosé mocktail. And for that, we're going to start off with some strawberries. So I have a 1/4 cup of strawberries here that I'm just going to muddle up. And we're gonna just get these guys nice and juicy. So you can do this in a food processor, but I just find that the food processor just makes it a little bit too liquidy. So the muddling still keeps a little bit of texture in this guy. And again, you just want to muddle this guy up so you can get it nice and liquidy. I don't know if you guys can see, kind of liquidy texture to it. All right. And then for this, we're going to add in another 1.5 ounces of our apple simple syrup. And then I'm going to only do about 1/4 cup of ice. We found that we don't want to do a ton of ice because we lose our liquid. So I'm just going to add about 1/4 cup worth on in. Oops, ice down. So add a little ice there. Again, shake it on up. While I shake it, I want to hear from you guys. How do you like to incorporate fruits and vegetables in general over the holidays? Let's say in your baking, how do you add those guys in? All right, and again, give that guy a good shake. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain my strawberry and apple kind of mixture or puree into a champagne flute, because it's very fancy like that. Again, getting some nice liquid here so you see that beautiful color that we have. And then we gotta have a little bit of bubbles the holiday season. So these bubbles are coming from seltzer water.
People are impressed with your shaking skills.
Thank you. And what I recommend, pour this guy in very slowly, because if you do too quickly, we have Rosé Volcano, which we don't want. So we're just gonna slowly add this guy in. Again, we want to be careful. Rosé Volcano showing on up. And while those bubbles just kind of find their way down, let that settle. And then I'm just going to get a little garnish action happening. Again, you can tell I am a sucker for some garnishes. So some favorite garnishes, we've used some rosemary and cherries for our sangria. You can add in, I use some cinnamon sticks. You can use fresh oranges, or I actually dehydrate my oranges. So remember I said that sometimes we don't always use our citrus quite quickly enough. So a dehydrator is a fantastic thing to ask for the holiday season, because it's a great way to preserve your fruits and your vegetables, and you can create snacks. You can make garnishes with them. I just made some banana chips the other day in a dehydrator, so they kind of have a little chewiness to them, because all I do is freeze my bananas, and now I have too many frozen bananas, so I decided to dehydrate them, and I'm going to do that more often too. And then for our mocktail here, for our holiday rosé, for our garnish, we're just going to top it off with a couple little fresh pomegranates. If you don't know how to slice up a pomegranate, head to fruitsandvegetables.org. We got lots of tutorials there how to prep yourself a pomegranate, and if that looks too complicated, you can buy the arrows all ready to go. So for our strawberry, I'm just going to do a nice little garnish here. I'm just going to make some nice little cuts in our strawberry. And then ready, just to make a little pretty little fan this guy out. Place you onto our cup here. And now we have a cute little mocktail. So you can serve this up at your holiday events, whatever you wind up doing for New Year's. If it's just you and Ryan Seacrest hanging out on New Year's Eve, you cheers him with one of this holiday rosé mocktails to enjoy. So again, for our session today, we did a sangria in the slow cooker. We did our Christmas cranberry sour. And then we did our non-alcoholic holiday rosé. So I'm going to invite Magic Hands over. Oh, and another member of my family. We're going to do a little cheers because, guys, 2020, we made it, everybody. Like, if this is not the most resilient year of all, what isn't? So, Magic Hands, which one do you want? I figured. All right. Well, I'll take my Have a Plant mug. So, guys, from my family cheers, this is my husband, Joe. This is our fur child, Shiva the Diva. From my family to yours, everybody, please, please, please have an amazing holiday season. It's been one heck of a year. We've all earned a drink. I hope you guys have a safe, healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we'll see you on the flip side in 2021. Cheers and have a plant, everyone.
Adios, amigos.
Ooh, that is tasty. All right. Well, everyone, if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead, drop them into the chat box. It's a little hard for me to see on my end, so I have magic hands to help me out.
Well,
And if you happen to be watching the playback and you have questions, do me a favor, give me a tagging and let me know so I can address them. I see lots of hello tacos here. Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, my husband's nickname is Taco. So that is him showing up. So thank you all so much again. Thank you. I just saw a compliment that says the Enright household makes the best cocktails. We're always open, so come join us anytime you want. And again, Magic Hands truly is the mixologist of the household. I just make them look pretty. That's my job. So just checking in to see if we have any last minute questions.
great job. Awesome job, Mandy. Hi, Taco. Somebody has heart emoji, cherry emoji, heart emoji. No question. Somebody asked if you could, instead of a dehydrator, use do dehydrate in a low temp in an air fryer.
Yeah. So if you didn't have a dehydrator, you could do it in a very, very low temperature oven. I think when I've done like apple chips, I've probably done them at like a 200-degree oven. It just takes, it's going to go in there for a couple hours. So as long as you don't need to use your oven anytime soon, you can do that. My air fryer actually has a dehydrator feature on it as well, which is pretty nice. So that could be another option as well if you don't have a official dehydrator. But again, it's the holidays, so you never know what could be showing up at your home over these next few weeks.
Katie says, woohoo, cheers, man.
All right, everyone. Well, I hope this helped inspire you to find some ways to incorporate fruits into your beverages. We added them into our beverages. We added them as garnishes to our beverages. We used fresh. We used juice form. I didn't really use any official frozen today, although I do freeze my cranberries to keep them around for a while longer. And lots of ways that we can incorporate all this deliciousness in. So it doesn't sound like we have a whole lot of questions, but again, if you're watching a replay, just tag me. I will respond back to you. And again, thank you all so much. Have a plant and cheers all.